All right, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Content Toolbox. Today, we are talking about digital storytelling. What is digital storytelling and why should I use it in my business? The answers? All inside, so buckle up. Let's head on in. I ran marketing departments in corporate America for 10 years and then ran a digital agency for over another 10 years. So I know the roadmap to online success, and that formula always includes producing content to share your message, from your marketing message to sales and delivery. Hi, I'm Jennifer Neal, and you're listening to the Content Toolbox. I believe the secret to finding and creating raving fans online is through you. In building relationships through stories that share who you really are, create genuine, crazy, raving fans that keep begging you to take their money. And on this podcast, we'll be talking strategies, tactics, tips, and more with myself and other industry experts. So buckle up and start your engines, because it's go time. All right, welcome you guys. Digital storytelling. I promise you, it's going to be super fun. I promise. Okay, so first of all, what is digital storytelling? Well, it's just telling stories using digital tools. Don't overcomplicate it. People have been telling stories since literally we could communicate, like on caveman walls. It is how we connect with people, because we're telling a story that connects on an emotional level. So why do we want to use storytelling or digital storytelling in our businesses? So first of all, let's start with why we want to use storytelling. Why we want to use storytelling is because we are trying to connect with our prospects, connect with our customers, especially in this day and age, but really at any point in time. We know that people want to buy from those that they know, like, and trust. How do they know, like, and trust us? They feel like they have connected with us. They feel like they resonate. They feel like they know us. They are bonding with us on an emotional level. The best way to do that, stories, is by telling stories, right? So why do we want to make that digital? Well, digital helps us to reach more people without actually, so we can convey our stories in a way that is still personal and emotional and connecting, but we are not having to do everything one-to-one, right? So we're able to actually connect and give more engagement. So it's more of the one-to-many philosophy where you're just able to reach more people. And also, I'm going to as well say, I think that digital provides us with different ways to tell stories. So now, more than ever, we are able to really connect with people, because some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people want, pretty graphics and things to look pretty. Some people would rather just skim through words, and digital media allows us to create all of those different forms of storytelling through content repurposing. But the point is that we can actually reach people in the media that they prefer. So that is one of the amazing benefits about storytelling, and especially digital storytelling. So why, we already talked about why we want to connect with people, but if you think about, if we sit back and think about, what are the things that differentiate us and our products and services from others in the market? There is always competition, at least there should be, if you are selling to a market that is ready to buy your stuff. So what is it that makes you stand out? So I know, I think it was Russell Brunson. I've heard Catherine Jones talk about it, Steve Larson. There's on the spectrum of in the middle is completely boring and just yawn, super boring, completely average, don't really care, not going to draw my attention. That is the middle lane, okay? Out here on the right is completely super weird, eccentric. Okay, you're a little on the cray-cray spectrum there. I am not going to follow you all the way there, right? And on this side is the negative end of the crazy spectrum, right? So what we want to do is we want to be typically in the positive range, but we want to be on the spectrum between normal and cray-cray. We want to be in there in the middle in a way that is causing us to stand out, because we want to get people's attention. And why do we get their attention? Because we want their attention so that we can tell stories to them, so that we can connect with them, so that they know, like, and trust us, so that they can buy our products and services. See, it's all just like one big thread, right? So awesome. So what types of stories do we want to tell? We want to really think about, so here's the bridge. I've done episodes on this before, but really, if you want to think about like your core product or service, or the ultimate goal that you're driving people to, which may not yet be a product or service, but it may be like a blog post, or it may be something else informational. So remember, we want to think about the whole end goal, but also like what's the very next step where people are at in the customer journey. But if we want to think about what are the stories that we want to tell for them, they need to attract people in and bring people through in a way that they relate to us. But what we want to do is show them that here's where we're going, and dig that down to a core emotion or a core value. And then we tell a story about that core emotion or core value. I totally dig in on this on another episode, but really what we want to do is we want to figure out what are the emotions surrounding what our product and service is. Like, how do we want to help people? How are we helping people? What are the emotions that come around that? And then you're going to tell other stories that take you through those emotions and pop out the other side as your hero, right? But let me caveat this and also say that we are going to essentially follow the hero's journey, another episode that I've done in the past, but you want to illustrate this in such a way, and the reason that we do this through story is we tell all of the details. By talking about all of the fine little details of these stories from another situation where we were personally involved, where I was, like, I tell stories all the time, and it means it's where I was personally involved. And I talk about the feeling in the pit of my stomach, what the sensation was on, like, were my hands climbing? Was I feeling sun on my face or wind in my hair? What was I smelling? What were the little tiny details? What was I hearing? So all of those little details, those are the things that connect with people because they hear all of those things. They have been through, when you boil it down to a core emotion, they have been through that core emotion. Guaranteed. They're core emotions because we all have them. So we want to dig down to that core emotion and find out, tell a story that is really relating to all of that emotion, okay? We're digging through, and you relate that into a hero's journey where we're coming out the other side and you're sharing, here's the epiphany that I had. Here's the journey and the transformation that I went through, in a way that you are sharing your own personal experience, but people can relate to your pain, your triumph, your success, your journey, but they are internalizing it. So we want to build the story so that they are the hero. They can put themselves in the story and make themselves the hero. That's the whole point of how we want to do this in telling stories as well, right? So we want to transfer that emotion so that they take it on and they're like, oh, you've done that. I can do that too. Then you bridge that across to your product and service, and here you go. There's the solution. So that's how the transference works so easily. Okay, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but there are different kinds of stories. So some of them are talking about you're focusing on the triumph. Some of them you're focusing on the tragedy. Some are more about the journey. Some are about the lessons learned. And there's all sorts of different stories. What you want to think about is like what most relates to your product or service, and then how are you going to use that to bridge? You also want to think about where are your customers at in the customer journey, because the really, really dramatic, the rock bottom, the whole like the major pain point, that's fantastic for cold traffic. When you are getting to the point you're talking about, and this was my plan, and here's how I did it, and here's how I succeeded, and here's where I am now, that is super powerful for positive, right? And being like inspiring and, oh my gosh, I want this. So if you think about, typically that's going to relate to people who are more hot traffic. They've already been on your list. They've already been customers. And they're like, yes, I totally want that, right? So that's easier for them to make that jump. So that's my opinion. And these are things that I have put together from creating all of these, like looking at stories that I have been telling through the years and studying storytelling through different methods for so long from many different masters. So here's what I wanted to do was look at what are the stories that we need to tell? When do we tell them? How do we tell them? And how do we utilize different digital media? And I don't want it to be just my opinion. Like I wanted to go and get all of the amazing insights from experts out there who are also using this in their businesses every single day. Because exactly what's happening in my business may not 100% relate to your business, but the framework and the structure is going to 100%. So when you're doing the research on what is digital storytelling, why do I want to use it? Where can I learn more about it? Is there a course? Is there a book? Is there a website? Yes, there absolutely is. And I have actually put this, like if you go out and you Google digital storytelling, there are a few sites that are talking specifically about this, but it is storytelling itself has been around for years and years, but not a lot of people are writing and talking about how to translate this to digital means. So rewind to several months back, you guys probably saw we did a summit. We put on a hybrid virtual event called the Smarter Content Formula. And I knew when I was putting together the Smarter Content Formula that I really wanted this to be something that was going to help other business owners along in their content marketing journey. And when you think about all of the content marketing, and this is a big topic, so I'm just going to like kind of gloss over it here. There are other episodes where we dive into this much more. But when you're talking about content marketing, what we're really talking about doing is producing core content that educates and attracts people to you so that you can then end up selling them. That's basically what we're talking about. So I wanted to go through and utilize other experts. And I'm like, okay, there's all of these people that I want to use. And I started putting, together like, okay, for content marketing, for ads, for organic traffic, for conversion, for like all these different things. And there's a lot of aspects of business. You've got marketing, you've got sales, you've got delivery, you've got upselling, retention, you've got like, there's a whole lot of things that go into content marketing strategy and an overall marketing strategy. So as I started breaking this down, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do a summit and it's going to have like 500 people speaking. That's going to be a little overwhelming, right? So I knew that I wanted to break this down into smaller bite-sized pieces. So I decided to go ahead and put on 3 events per year. So exciting. We're already working on the next one. I'm totally stoked about it. But our first one, which is what I want to talk to you about, our very first one that we did was the Smarter Content Formula, and it was the Storytelling Edition. Now, why did I start with storytelling? Because the whole point of content marketing is we want to bring people into us. So it all starts with being able to tell a story and being able to tell a story in a digital world. So how are we going to get people's attention? I'm going to say there are other episodes where I'm talking about not just digital content, also supremely important. This episode here, we're talking about digital storytelling. So I want to make sure we talk about that. I know, all the topics all over the place. Anyway, so what we want to do is I pulled together 10 top experts who are talking about how we are using storytelling to create messaging that converts. And I brought in all these different experts because I wanted to have one place, one website that everybody can go into. And I don't even think it needs to be a full-on course because really, you guys already know the structure. You grew up with the structure. You know what the journey looks like, how you have to start with this emotional, traumatic something, and that doesn't even have to be huge drama. It's just some sort of a conflict, right? It can be huge. It can be a little conflict thing. You're going to start with that. You're talking about that. And then you're talking about, okay, now I have this plan of here's how I'm going to overcome it. And the plan either works or it worked partway and then we have to re-evolve the plan. And so there's always like a problem and a solution that we eventually get to. Sometimes you loop through it. In terms of how do we talk about that? How do we actually craft that into a story that is engaging. You probably all know them as well. I have some friends that will literally tell the same story over and over and over. I have some friends, I've heard their stories probably 30 times. Some of them are really good at telling that same story 30 times, right? Some of them, it's the same yawn, boring story the whole time. And there is a difference. There are good storytellers and there are bad storytellers. If we are using this for our businesses, we want to be good storytellers. So there are different types of industries. There's different types of personalities. There's different ways to engage with people. And that's why I wanted to bring in like a group of different experts and find out, like have each of them tell how they are telling stories, how they are using stories to convey their message and bring people into their world, and how they are telling those stories in a digital world. So I pulled together 10 experts and brought them all in. We actually did 12 total, including myself, and we have a super genius SEO expert as well. So we pulled all of those experts in together, and they all talked about how they're telling stories, how they are using stories to attract people in and then convert them into sales, and how they are using that to get people to pay attention in a digital world. Like, how are you standing out? How is your story? How's your emotion? How are you visually standing out besides how you're telling the story? So I love this because we put it all together on a website. We built it into a little membership course, and we have an actual physical book that comes along with it. We have a digital book. There's a box of a whole bunch of goodies and more workbooks. So it's literally a little mini course. If you are ready to figure out how to use storytelling in your business and follow a framework or a methodology that works, this is the place to come. This is perfect. Super easy, dive in. You can go get it right now at smartercontentformula.com. And yes, completely unsolicited, because you know what? I'm selling somebody else's stuff. Like, these are other geniuses, and all I did was just pull it together and package it up so you guys can have it. Because the really cool thing about this is we have all these different people in all sorts of different industries, and they're all talking about how they are using stories to convey their message. And every single one of them, if you boil it down and look at the framework of how each of them structures how they're doing their stories, it's all following the same basic pattern. And all you have to do is understand that pattern and figure out who you resonate with and just follow their steps. We literally we've had them each give us their step-by-step instructions, right? So you can be like, oh, I totally dig and understand what Jim Edwards is saying. Jim was one of our speakers, or Catherine Jones. Like, I get it. I totally resonate with this girl. I love it. I want to follow her stuff. Great. We have her steps all outlined in her presentation and in a workbook. So you can literally do pause, follow along, do pause, follow along, right? Fantastic. So if you are ready to really take on storytelling in your business and you're really ready to embrace using that in a digital world, and you want to do it with your best step forward, go check out smartercontentformula.com and grab a copy of the storytelling edition before that sells out. Once that sells out, I'm not sure that we'll be printing anymore. So go check it out and watch for the next Smarter Content Formula event that we have coming up. The next one will be all around traffic, I believe. Going to be very exciting. But for now, let's dig into storytelling. Let's get you into digital storytelling, learning, go through the book, go through the course, the website, and really become a master from not just one person, but from many different influences. So I love it. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Check out Smarter Content Formula. And if you're not already on our list, go to the Content Toolbox, contenttoolbox.com, grab on our list, and we will continue to send you awesome episodes just like these every single week. All right. See you guys next time.